What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about front-running DeFi regulation. Now, last week was big for crypto. The Coinbase IPO happened, and the whole world seemed to wake up in recognition of crypto as an asset class. Now, while this is a major step in the legitimization of the space, some even calling it crypto's Netscape moment, I want to take the opportunity to highlight the dangers of crypto going mainstream. Firstly, the United States is woefully behind in the crypto economy in every conceivable measure. For Bitcoin, the United States represents a mere 7% of the global hash rate, while China represents around 65%. This has led thinkers like Peter Thiel to suggest that Bitcoin could in fact be a Chinese financial weapon against the US, and to unambiguously state that it specifically threatens the dollar. Secondly, the US government is frighteningly slow to even understand what crypto is or what it has produced in decentralized finance. Now, this could clearly be seen in the recent Bankless interview with SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce, where she talks about DeFi barely being on the radar of her fellow commissioners, and that they're just now waking up to Bitcoin. So you can see this DeFi is moving at about 65 miles an hour, whereas the United States regulatory bodies are moving at about a 5. Lastly, the US is behind the curve on crypto regulation. If you spend any time in this space, you're familiar with the pop-ups at every turn telling you that US customers are not able to use this exchange or this DeFi product due to regulatory restrictions. In fact, BitMEX, Bybit, FTX, and Binance are 4 of the top coveted exchanges that ban US persons from their platform, as stated in their terms and conditions. Kraken even has a separate futures trading platform, which oddly US customers are barred from using. Now, given this deficit in understanding and anticipated growing sense of diminished control, I fear any major downswing could trigger sweeping regulation, downswing or upswing. Many people are predicting crypto regulation on the horizon regardless of any downturn or upturn. The World Economic Forum's head of blockchain and digital assets, Sheila Warren, just told Bloomberg that a dramatic round of regulation was about to befall Bitcoin. Quote, "We're going to see another round of pretty dramatic attempts at regulating this space. As there's more and more activity in these spaces, there's more and more demand signal for regulators to get engaged and involved," end quote. So the writing on the wall seems to be exceedingly clear, and it indicates that the feds are coming for DeFi. Combined with the US having printed 40% of its money supply just this last year, makes for what some are calling the scariest financial experiment in history. DeFi has the potential to be an extremely enticing scapegoat to any undesirable economic consequences. The heavy-handed regulation will be presented as being for our own good and to protect citizens. The reason why I want to make this siren call is that I don't think people understand the diametric opposition between the way the government thinks and the core principles of decentralized finance. Because it's not a mere augmentation to traditional finance. It's a repudiation of it. To really see it in the right light, it's a Wikipedia to Britannica, an Amazon to Borders, a Netflix to Blockbuster. Governments aren't just going to roll over and let themselves get blasted into obsolescence. Gary Vee said in one of his recent talks, because you know he's caught the crypto bug, if you believe in the nirvana of complete and utter blockchain at scale, then we're talking about substantial World War III dynamics. So let's cut to the chase. How does any of this help you? Okay, and I'm going to give you a few ways in which it does. As a blockchain developer or user, you can prioritize the following protocol characteristics to stay ahead of regulation that will come, not if, but when it does come. The first is availability. If the front end of your application is hosted on AWS and your domain is registered with GoDaddy, then your decentralized and censorship-resistant submarine might as well have a screen door on it. To fully guarantee the availability to end users means employing censorship-resistant technologies like Interplanetary File System and Ethereum Name Service. That's number one. Number two is governance. When the regulatory guns come out, they'll be squarely targeted at those who are building and managing these products. And if you're in a position where you can update protocols, then you will be legally compelled to do so. A trustless system is not trustless if the founders have to be trusted to not update the protocol at the behest of another. This means on-chain governance. 3. Anonymity. Even assuming that there's no attack vector at the protocol level, this doesn't mean that the blockchain creators are safe from attack personally by governments. If their identity is known, they are fully exposed to the threat of personal liability. This could mean their personal assets are confiscated or they're held criminally liable for building and releasing the product. Just ask Arthur Hayes and some of these others who have recently turned themselves in after running from governments across the world. I believe that anonymity of founders will be shown to be as important as it has been emphasized as a feature for users. Number 4, proof of stake consensus. We need to move away from proof of work to proof of stake as soon as possible, and it's not just about scalability and speed of transactions. Physical mining represents a very real physical vulnerability because governments can dramatically lower the cost of a 51% attack simply by seizing control of the mining physical infrastructure. That dramatically changes in the move to proof of stake because there is no physical infrastructure per se. What's more, it also increases anonymity by removing minor IP addresses from the equation and provides greater resiliency in the face of power loss. So these are the 4 things that a person needs to prioritize to stay in front of the regulation that will be dropping. Building the decentralized trustless system requires constant obsession with thinking about how users can be attacked and exploited. The same passion that exists behind decentralization will exist on the side of governments who wish to control and exploit it for power. This conflict is unprecedented for several reasons. Firstly, because the servers running the code do not reside in any physical country. And secondly, all parties involved are involved voluntarily, so it can't be construed as an issue of intellectual property theft or exploitation. So these reasons alone will inevitably cause people to rightly question what grounds a government has to control these decentralized products. But I'm certain that will not deter them from making that claim. The only way to front-run the impending clash of worldviews is with the same principles that have driven this entire movement, that being an absolute insistence on unmitigated trustlessness and decentralization. Now, one of the most interesting projects I see taking the above characteristics extremely seriously is DFOhub. They advocate the use of decentralized, flexible organizations. It's kind of an evolution on DAOs. And they are extremely ahead of the curve. And they even speak of startups without founders. Very, very interesting stuff. Well, that's all I got for this segment. If you enjoyed this material, hit that like button and subscribe. And I will do my best to keep high quality technical information coming your way to keep you ahead of the curve.